Welcome back to the second main event of the night. This is going to be our 5th edition of Belt or Bury. If you're unfamiliar with what that is, it's kind of simple. You take a wrestler, in this case it's going to be Daniel Bryan, and you talk about whether or not WWE has, out of these two options, which they should do. Should you continue on the path of championships, or in the case of some other people, if they haven't won a championship, should they win one? Or should you take the opposite route, demote them, not even give them a chance at a championship, possibly even release them? There's a lot of different variables that can come into play, but that's kind of where the fun comes in. But basically it boils down to that. You either have the choice between you push the person towards the title or you take them away from the title scene. And we're going to talk about Daniel Bryan because of the situation with the Intercontinental Championship that's going on right now. To give a little backstory behind this and why this was chosen, Daniel Bryan had his WWE Championship win over John Cena back at SummerSlam in 2013, and immediately afterward cashed in on by Randy Orton. Doesn't get the title back over the next couple of months, but he finds his way into the main event of WrestleMania despite not being in the Royal Rumble because the fans just demanded it. WWE caved in, and instead of having Batista win the title or Randy Orton retain the title, we get Daniel Bryan as the champion. Awesome. Fantastic. Problem ends up happening right afterward, though, where his injuries catch up to him, and after defending the title at Extreme Rules, he wastes a couple months and eventually just has to give up the title. Spends almost the entirety of 2014 after that on the injury list, comes back. People start thinking maybe he's going to win the title again. Not the case. But he does win something at WrestleMania. He wins the Intercontinental title. Pretty cool, right? At least he's going to be a champion in that regard. Then he gets another injury. And now he's sitting out again for an indeterminate amount of time. Of course, there's a possibility he might not come back at all. And if he does, it might not be for a while. It could be June. It could be July. It could be fucking November, for all we know. And even if he does come back, he might not come back in good enough shape to be able to build around a title. So there's a lot of different things that can come into play here, but before I go through my opinion and run all that down and whatever like that, I'm going to give you guys a chance to talk about this. Daniel Bryan, belt or bury? What do you do with the guy? Who wants to go first? Alright, so since I'm editing out a portion where everybody just kind of fucked up and stuff, Drew, you're going to go first anyway.
I never said I wanted to go first.
Too bad, you're going to do it.
I guess so, because everyone else is bitches around here. But anyways, when it comes to belt or bury, this is a segment that I don't really care much for. However, I will give you my in-depth opinion on the Daniel Bryan. Aside from the fact that he's on my fantasy team, because, the Drew Crew or fucking shithead losers is life nowadays. Daniel Bryan has been my favorite wrestler ever since I've gotten back in wrestling, so my opinion might be a little biased, but at the same time, I'm going to try to be fair about all this. He's been injured essentially for the past year, other than a 3-month period where he wasn't injured and got the IC title. I mean, the rumors right now is that he's going to be out until June, I believe. So whether or not you want to keep the title on him until then is up to you, but I feel like I don't believe he's going to be out for too long when it comes to his current injury right now, because they would have said something by now instead of keeping it hush-hush for the most part. They didn't keep the first one hush-hush, so I don't understand why they do it now. But when it comes to whether or not it's belt or bury with the guy, that is tricky, because over the past year and a half, he's proven that he can't stay uninjured. Now, they really haven't talked much about his current injury, whether it's the same injury he had before or just he just did something to aggravate it. No one really knows for sure. But the injury he did have last year was very serious. There was talk about him not being able to wrestle again, or talks about him having to change up his style because of it. And there was also talks that he might be out for even longer than what he should have been. So he's a liability pretty much when it comes to having the belt on him. However, whether or not you want to go into the Shawn Michael route with him, he would easily thrive in, because he could put other talent over. I would put a belt on him for the standpoint that I would give him one more chance with it. And if he gets injured again, then fuck, I wouldn't trust him with a lead pipe. But for the most part, the fans are going to cheer for him no matter what, because the internet fan, it doesn't matter what you do. The internet's going to freak out if Bryan does not get a title of any sorts for the most part. And I feel like it would just do more harm than good just to not give him a title. Also, for the most part, I just would rather see him with a title just because this is just a fan's perspective. But I would at least give him one more chance at cinching. So I will give him the belt, but with caution for the most part.
Peyton, what do you think? Is this too much of a liability, or should he get a third strike, or is he just somebody who's bankable enough that you're willing to take the risk?
Well, when we're off the air, as if we don't say stupid enough things while we're on the air, you should hear some of the debates that we have off the air where we pick each member of Fanboys Anonymous and decide what Pokemon they would be if they were a Pokemon, or if we're just gonna swap people's names around.
We do come to consensus things about this, though. That's the good part.
What does this have to do with anything?
I'm leading to that, Drew.
Okay, there we go.
One night we were debating whether Daniel Bryan would be a suspenders or a belt guy. And during that conversation, I said, well, he must be suspenders because you can't put a belt on the guy or he gets injured. So I'm going to follow that up there. Daniel Bryan, you cannot rely on him in any type of capacity like that anymore. He had his shot multiple times. I understand it happened so late in his career. They did this slow burn for him, as they should have. It was the right story. The guy is just so old now, and I think that's why he's getting all these injuries. He's been beating himself up for so long. He needs to go back. You don't need to have a title to be somebody important. I'm not saying they should drop the guy and send him off somewhere. And if Daniel Bryan really does have that heart of a competitor and that heart of a performer, then he can work through it and either put on a good show in the spot that he's in, or maybe win the favor and get himself back into that position where he can win a title. But for the immediate future, I mean, especially because he's injured right now, but even after he comes back, I wouldn't put a belt anywhere near him.
And since two people went down already, I'm going to echo pretty much the same thing for my opinion out there. Yeah, I can't trust Daniel Bryan with a title. And I think, for that matter, they should just get rid of the Intercontinental Championship from him right now. I don't want to wait for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, whatever it would be, for him to drop the title. If you're going to have him drop the title, then have him just abandon it now. That way he saves a little bit of face, and he can still challenge for championships. I mean, that's perfectly fine. Just don't trust him to be the person that holds all the responsibility. If they gave him, U.S. title, Intercontinental, or God forbid the world title again, and, a month later he gets another injury, well, you're fucked again for a championship. And that can't happen in that too short of a time period. It's different if you've been wrestling in WWE for 10 years, and that's happened 3 times to you over the course of 10 years. Sure. But when you get, the main spot in the company and you go down with an injury, it's unfortunate. But when you get another opportunity like that, it's the same time frame too. Yeah, he wins at WrestleMania, he drops it right afterward. Who's to say, he takes a couple months off, they start building him up, they give him another title run at WrestleMania, it doesn't happen for a third time. And, the championship means more than Daniel Bryan. It kind of is odd to say that when championships are always devalued, but that title is going to be around longer in the company than Daniel Bryan will be. Whether it's moved into another championship for a little bit, or sticks around the way that it looks, or changes its appearance, or what, it's more important for Daniel Bryan to be wrestling and getting the audience and stuff, and he can do that without the title. And then there's the importance of the Intercontinental Championship. So I gotta go with, you gotta put him more on the Berry side and make him, lose to some people. It's okay for Daniel Bryan to lose. People will bitch, but you know what? They're gonna bitch about anything. So, the hell with those fans. Kalen, what do you think? Belt or Berry, Daniel Bryan?
Kind of like Drew said, ever since I got back into WWE, he's been one of my favorite superstars on the roster, But unfortunately, like you and Mike were saying, I mean, with his history of injuries, especially in the last couple of years, you just can't trust him with the belt right now. I mean, maybe someday in the future, but I even kind of doubt that. I mean, we had the moment, we had the time, you know, in 2013 and 2014, sort of the build between SummerSlam, where he got it and immediately was taken away, and then the fight against the Authority, and then he had like that fairy tale ending at WrestleMania 30, and that was great, and he was on top of the world, and you know that was a crazy week for him with, you know, getting married and his dad dying and everything, but I think that was the moment, and that's definitely, I don't think that could be anything beyond that would be his peak of his career. That's got to be the peak of his career. So as much as I hate to say it, I don't think he should be given, especially the world title, anytime soon. I agree that he should drop the Intercontinental Championship, and you know, because he was gone for so long with injury, they brought him back. He went at WrestleMania this year. He won that belt, and then immediately is injured again, and it's just so frustrating because I like the guy. He's so good for the company. He's a huge draw. He's so over with the crowd. He's a money draw for the company. But based on his injury history, I just don't think that they can trust him right now with that kind of workload workload. So I kind of agree with you, Tony. You know, I'm going to have to lean more towards the Barry side of it, and which really sucks. If it weren't for the injury, I think he could still be up on top for many, many years. But his body thinks differently.
Well, you go round us out. Yeah. Belt, Barry, Fire.
I'm going to have to lean more to the side of Barry. And it's unfortunate because Daniel Bryan is definitely one of my favorite guys in the WWE. Great work in the ring. I think his character really developed, and he really evolved since the time that he started within the company. So it's just he's had two really good opportunities, and he blew them. He was given, just think about it, the 30th WrestleMania. That's a big deal. And they gave him that spot. He beat 3 guys in one night, and he gets injured. So, rightfully so, they demoted him. And he was given an opportunity to turn that IC title into a main event belt and make it an important pillar of the WWE, much like they're doing it with the US title. He fucks that up too. And I know he didn't deliberately do it, and he's not doing a Rey Mysterio where he wants to collect a paycheck. And that sucks. But it comes with the job, man. You've got to be reliable, and you just aren't.
Yeah, you know what? As much as Daniel Bryan is somebody who draws in an audience, he's only going to draw in the audience when he's there. Mm-hmm. So it's like, well, yeah, he's really, really popular, but Daniel Bryan defending the championship is not the same as Daniel Bryan holding the championship at home.
To be fair, he was injured going into the WrestleMania the first time. And, like, that was an injury I believe he got back with that match with Randy Orton where they had to, like, cancel that match or, like, they had to stop it because he, like, hit his head on the barrier or something like that. So that's his own fault that he should have took the time out, but he just didn't because, you know, honestly, if we were all in that same situation, would we, like, take the time out if we were going to be in the best spot of our career for the most part? So the first time might have been his fault because he could have done something about it sooner, but he just didn't. But the second time, that's just bad luck at this point. So I feel bad for the guy because he's my favorite wrestler, and 2, he's a great guy overall, and I think WWE likes to show that, case him that. But and it sucks that someone like him has like these type of issues, but you know, gotta be reliable.
And I do think that there's a chance for him to, you know, pull it all back in the future. And just if he were to be on the burial sort of side in 2015, doesn't mean that 2016 he doesn't win a title, doesn't win one in 2017. Hell, look at Mark Henry. Mark Henry seemed like he was a joke for years. He ended up having a great World Heavyweight Championship reign with the Hall of Pain thing. And that was after many, many people had written him off as he's never going to be anything more than what he was. You know, he's never going to win a title. He's never going to be worth a damn and that kind of thing. And he proved them wrong. And he was up in age right then. So, you know, it's not the end of the world for Daniel Bryan. But right now, he needs to be buried more than he needs to get a title. So, tell us what you guys think in the comments below. Should Daniel Bryan keep this title? Should he vacate it? If he vacates it and Vacant wins the title, how should they push Vacant? If you think that he's worthy of giving another title shot in the future and stuff, what belt would you want to see him in? How would you want to see them play around his injury, you know, any kind of like booking decisions or any kind of ideas that you guys have, or predictions for that matter. Leave them in the comments below. Tell us what you think about what we think about this kind of stuff. And that should do us in for the main event, which means we have one more thing to do for this episode. That's the Fantasy League. Stay tuned, everybody, for part 6.